So, first of all, a very warm welcome to you. Thanks for choosing my session. And I hope that, well, you start enjoying it, the second part of MSIX-based. And what we are starting with, that second part of the day, is modern packaging on Windows 10. I'm going to actually show you today how to do that with our tools, but also discuss the challenges. About me, my name is Marcin Torowski. I'm product manager at Raynet, and Raynet is, in case you didn't notice yet, the platinum sponsor of that event. At that place, I really welcome all of you, and also I encourage you to visit us in our booth. We have some other great products which won't be part of that topic, and I'll just maybe mention them, but you can also see them live at our booth. So, let's go quickly to agenda. This will be pretty much classical story. I'm starting with first kind of leveling up so that we are on the same page, on the same level, discussing what is actually meant by the modern packaging, where the world of packaging is actually going through. As you already know, there has been some, so to say, buzz around MSIX announced by Microsoft. I'm going to discuss that as well, but my point of view will be somehow different than what you might have from like Microsoft session. I don't know how many of you were on the Microsoft session today at 10. So to my mind, it was also a little bit towards developer, or don't you have the same feeling? I'm going to actually cover this from the, so to say, IT pro point of view. Packagers, quality engineers, evaluation guys, to see what this actually means to us. So, right, yeah, there is MSIX there and there. A lot of has been said about, but what does it mean indeed? We speak to our customers, we get some different point of views, and so I try to collect them and I will try to present them, not really going into much details. The actual interesting part will be during the demo. So I will certainly discuss how the MSIX is working, what does it mean. Then we do the live demo, and hopefully at the end we'll get enough time for questions and answers for anything that may happen. If you want to just interrupt me, you have something that you think would be interesting, you can also like raise your hand, and I think we will have enough time to actually answer all of this. So let's start with the backstory. The backstory is that we had two big events this year, Build and Ignite conference, during which there were a lot of sessions about what's changing now in the packaging world. And we were also in Redmond, even before these two sessions, trying to discuss, as one of partners with Microsoft, trying to discuss what is actually going to change, giving our input, and trying to actually also shape how the MSIX technology is going to evolve and why its predecessor, APPX, not quite worked. So, pretty nice photo. It was nice weather. We had some nice faces. What you don't see on that is that on the same day, as we were looking for, turning left to Microsoft campus, we almost crashed and it caused a big accident. And the first car behind us was a big police ranger. So we didn't have good luck, but the story and the lesson was, if you have a European driving license, you can always get away without anything. So it was pretty cool. And like I said, a week later or so, the MSIX has been announced during Build conference, and Raynet is also committing and taking part of the story to deliver the support for the upcoming technology. How many of you haven't heard of MSIX yet? Just one. Okay, then maybe more difficult question. How many of you have been using AppX as productive deployments? Well, I guess it would be the answer. Probably there are some reasons. AppX was, like I already said in the beginning, so much development-oriented. So with MSIX, Microsoft is going to change things, but important to understand is how this whole big picture, how this paradigm is changing. So this is how things used to look like. We had like a, so to say, pyramid, where the upper elements were kind of relying on the lower ones. So on the bottom was always the operating system, and each time a new upgrade came, could this be service pack or just a new installation, you could pretty much start from the scratch with your compatibility of apps, of your line of business customization. Not quite flexible, and Microsoft decided to change that. I really like to tell a bit about that kind of model, like a, say, green button model. So that means you prepare your migration, you decide, okay, these are the apps I need to take, these are the modifications, and then when everything is ready, test it, roll out, pilot, and so on, you press the big green button and go. And hopefully it works. Now, the new concept is a bit different. So it actually has transformed into something more horizontal, which is a Windows as a service, getting constant updates, apps getting delivered, for example, from the Microsoft Store or just any other kind of deployment, and customization to these apps also completely separate. So keep your apps flowing. Every single part of that is changing independently. And that's, let's call it a red button model. So let's Windows make an upgrade, let's apps do their upgrades, and when everything is fine, then it's fine. Otherwise, press the big red button, stop the rollout, and I guess it's just how the future is going to look like. So eventually, all of this that you can see, so the ways we used to install the software, the Windows installer, the virtual packages, some other technologies, scripted, legacy, third-party, click ones, so we are also talking about some webs, and so all of this actually will eventually be considered as legacy. And the intention is to replace all of this with just one MSIX container, which, by the way, is supposed to be cross-platform. So what you can see on the left side is actually Windows-based, but well, we'll see how the future brings us, whether the MSIX turns out to be a good replacement for other packages. What you may have already heard is that the MSIX is a combination of the MSI and APPX. Well, it actually brings the model behind the APPX and the idea of the MSI, but I don't quite agree with that. So, and this is also what our customers, our partners are saying. I'm going to discuss this in details right now, but just for the concept, well, APPX was not that much widely used because, well, you could deploy your apps, new packages for developers. It was actually a great idea to have everything in container, but well, for enterprises, IT pros having to customize something or add to the package, it was really tedious task, if not, if anything was possible at all. So Microsoft came a long way to actually deliver something which has actually a chance to take over and to be the format. Now, I have here 5 quick facts about the MSIX. So this is actually, some of them may be trivial, but it's important to know on which level, that we are on the same page of what does it actually mean for us, for IT pros. So MSIX, as far as it's marketed as being a combination of MSI and APPX, is definitely not MSI. It's not Windows installer, it's not the format of Windows installer, and as a matter of fact, it's just APPX with just some few new functions, and that will be actively developed to deliver some missing functions in the future. In that way, it's really similar to AppV5, and as a matter of fact, if you go to AppV5 today, the migration to MSIX will be much easier because they pretty much share the same core model. And the MSI was so much Windows. MSIX, on the other hand, is supposed to be not really for Windows. iOS, Android, other devices, HoloLens, and so on are going to be supported. And Windows 10, the installation model is going to also slightly change. So I'm not really going to go into details how this works, but just as interesting fact, you install everything on machine, per machine, you publish for a user, and you don't need admin rights to do the installation, which is also a big change from the Windows installer world. Having said that, it's not just another format. So you cannot just simply say, well, today I use Windows installer, I will just switch to MSIX. While it works like that in many cases, there is, as always, a lot of things in the background behind. So both MSI and MSIX are just containers for your data, for your files, registries, shortcuts. Now, how to bring that content onto your own device is actually done by the, well, Windows installer service, or for the MSIX, which is integrated with Windows 10 starting 1809 build and continuing to the next releases. So that's actually the similarity, but still the way it works is completely different. Not everything is going to be converted because either it's not possible or there are some missing functions, or like it was in the case with MSI, you could have a great setup exit to install your product, which couldn't be, from some reason, migrated to MSI. That could also happen. So there are certainly going to be some issues because the development paradigm, how apps are delivered, how they are working, is also going to change due to the fact that MSIX is so much tightly connected to the UWP platform. Going to also discuss this later on. And finally, you need to switch to MSIX in any case if you want to go to Microsoft Store for Business, or just to have your apps installed on Windows 10 S mode, which basically just only allows MSIX packages from store. Now, the format itself solves a lot of challenges. So there are a lot of things that were inherited from the AppX. That's, for example, the fast install, clean uninstall, and predictable maintenance. So gone are the times with Windows Installer where you really had to spend a lot of time to deliver your products so that it cleanly uninstalls. Like, what about the user data? What about some additional stuff installed by custom actions or whatever? It was really difficult if you just stepped out of the native Windows installer functionality, and for MSIX, it's just there. So whatever your app is doing, all the changes are, so to say, collected, and when you uninstall, it will be fast and clean because everything gets removed. That's thanks to the isolation, containerization, and these are actually concepts from the AppX, plus differential upgrades which just speed the installation for other users. So pretty much every file resource is hashed. It has its hash sum. So when you install a product which shares something with another one, these resources won't be installed anymore. So you can think about it like modern way how merge modules should work. It just, the heavy lifting is done not by packagers, but by the MSIX engine itself. Then we have the user-centric deployment. You don't need admin rights to install anything, which is pretty much also a challenge for the IT administration, but also super important. And last but not least is the integrated shimming framework, PSF. I'm going to actually show that live. It's going to be really interesting to see how MSIX is solving the compatibility issues. This is going to be the deployment method. So you may think of that, Windows 10 is having like 700 million installations worldwide, which is, let's say, about 50, maybe slightly less or more % of devices running Windows platform. So it's not that you will be able to right now start using MSIX and get to all devices. We just need to wait for the adaptation for Windows 10 to really take over like several more hundreds millions of devices. But still, there is now time to brace ourselves. So we, for example, as ISVs, we are already running closely with Microsoft to deliver the technology to our products. And once it's up and running in like next few builds, it's going to be, the Windows 10 is going to be adopted far more, and it's going to be really important to support that technology. Otherwise, like I said, everything else is going to be now legacy. Having said that, the MSI, AppV, so all these classic approaches will still be there. So they're not just going to stop. Microsoft is not killing or shooting in his food. The whole ecosystem is still based on these two. So for some time, years probably, or even more, it's going to be still supported. Last, how about learning curve? As a matter of fact, whatever you knew from the installer or some other techniques, except of probably AppV, is going to be quite new. If you didn't have previous experience with AppV, it's object data model, and so it's not MSI, so it's not a database anymore. It's just a zip container with a bunch of files, with the manifestation which just says, okay, what do I do with these files? But as a matter of fact, a lot of things that were so complex in previous times, like setting up the upgrades, the clean installation, hashing, components, features, all of this was quite difficult, and MSIX doesn't need that. It's all done automatically. Heavy lifting is MSIX and not the packager. Now, the format itself is open source. There is an SDK available. Probably because of that, there will be also some great community built around, so it's also easier to get answers on the beginning that it was with the Windows installer in its times. And to my mind, although it's completely new and requires some just different paradigm, it's just easier to learn, easier to use than the Windows installer, provided that what you want to achieve is supported by the platform. So now just quickly, before we go to the demo, what is actually the challenge out of that? So I actually combined here a couple of more like technical requirements, what you have to be aware of, plus more like approaches, how to deal with that problem. So Microsoft is having a new platform, UWP. If you go to the Windows 10 control panel, it's this new UI, new division of settings. It's all based in UWP, and all one were Win32. So eventually, Microsoft expects that in years, everything is going to be UWP, and all legacy Win32 code will not be there anymore. We may discuss whether it happens, but the fact is that before you go into UWP, and I guess you're not developers, you don't have access to your source code of your apps you are using in your business, you will be using then the bridge technology, which lets you just get your old app, get them into MSIX container, and the bridging will just remove the gap and let you run your old products in the new container. The format itself doesn't support any kind of scripting. Everything is declarative. So if you use scripting like, or any custom setup or PowerShell or Visual Basic or whatever to install, it's not going to work. You have to then repackage. And there will be a lot of repackaging because pretty much every single product has to be first converted, the resources grabbed, put into the APPX MSIX container, and that's also going to be something that the products and tooling have to consider. Now, one important thing is that during installation, there's absolutely zero configuration. So no serial numbers, no feature selection, no whatever you might expect in any Windows installer setup. It's instead, the approach is that let's install the product quickly, and whatever is needed from the user part, let him configure that. Like the weather app or mail. The first time you start it, you actually configure it, but during installation, it's just pretty much nothing more than file copy. So that's also going to be important when switching from the installer to the MSIX approach. About the repackaging, I have already said a bit, so there is going to be a lot of repackaging. The tool from Raynet supports many ways how to actually move from one to the other. You can also use SDK from Microsoft to do that with their tool they presented. There's going to be, during our live demo, also a bit about the modification packages, which were also demoed by Microsoft. And here, important change will be that, unlike with the MST, the modification packages will be pretty much standalone. So you have to always sign them. It's just a standalone installation. You can even install your modification package theoretically without base app. And that's just also a different paradigm for how to customize the apps. You will have to sign them, so if you don't, it won't work. And one important stuff is that we're talking still about Windows 10 1809. The MSIX engine won't be ported to Windows 7. There are some approaches to provide the SDK tools to extract or pack on Windows 7, but if you have user base running Windows 8 or 7, the MSIX might probably not be the best choice on the beginning, and it's maybe better to just wait for a migration. And finally, there are some just simply technical requirements and technical limitations which are to be considered for the convention to work. I'm not really going to cover them in details. They are also similar to what AppV had, so you cannot install your drivers. Services are currently not running in the MSIX, although there are some plans to bring them. And some more technicalities like the net runtime, like the ability to run extensions in process. It's all like kind of not possible. However, certain points, what I wrote here is they are just only relevant for apps that you put into Microsoft Store. Because just for enterprise packaging, like the self-elevation, it's normally not a big deal. You can pretty much start your app as admin, running from MSIX container, and it will just not complain. It will just simply start. So different set of requirements for different target groups. For developers, there are even more. For our IT pros, some potentially less. Yeah, so before we go to the live demo, we are actually announcing RayPack 6.0, which is going to be released over next weeks. We are currently trying to polish some rough edges of that. And RayPack 6.0, RayPack Studio 6.0 will be a set of products supporting MSIX. That means creating packages, editing packages, and all of this that you learned from the presentations today. So including the shimming layer, including modification packages. And that's actually going to be something I'm really keen on showing in a live demo in a moment. However, also what I said in the beginning is that we are just talking about something more than just packaging. We had some more toolset in Raynet, and I guess that for proper migration, you would also have tools to realize like the workflow, like the documentation, tests, acceptance, and so on from the packages. So it's just the base concepts of some products which are running around the packaging, and I won't be actually starting them today. But I will certainly use some outputs from like the evaluation. I'll use some document which could have been sent to me by our evaluation team, and some screening with potential discovery from our other tool which can test against compatibility with MSIX. If you want to see more about that, just visit us in our booth. And today I will just focus on the packaging part. So I think we are ready to go for a live demo. Do you have any questions before? I guess not, so I'm going to start my Windows 10 build. It's an insider build, 1903 preview, so even step more behind the 1809, which has been like released several days ago. So you see this all acrylic effects in my login screen. It's pretty new, I guess. So, all right, numlock. Not the right one. Yeah, not right one. So I'm going to start RayPack. This is actually a preview version of our 6.0 version of product, which has the MSIX support already in. And you may expect that it's going to be publicly available within next weeks. So have you been using RayPack already? You know the tool. So you will see some differences that we did in that. For others, it will be just a nice chance to see it running and to see how the modern packaging with the tooling like RayPack Studio may look like. So what are we going to do for today is I'm going to take another product from Raynet. That will be RayEval, so a small utility. And I'm going to first convert it to MSIX and then see what happens and what kind of maybe issues we'll have during the process and how to actually work with them. So let me go to my sources. I'll just grab a couple of documents which I'm going to quickly use for my stuff. It should be somewhere here, docs. These are the two documents I was talking about. One is from the pre-screening, whether the product is compatible with the MSIX. So I'm just going to show you the actual result of the report. That was the RayEval 2.1. It has just one warning, but if you just scroll the list generated by our product, okay, thank you, Edge. No, I don't want to import. If you just scroll and you can review these issues, there is just something about the shortcut working directory. Well, we need to then check if the app is running, but there are no critical errors, and I guess this indicates that the app is actually a candidate for the MSIX conversion. Now, the other document, and I think I started the wrong one, the other document is how you traditionally do the packaging. So someone created here a documentation. If we scroll down to the steps, here is how to install the product, how to make post-step installation. So we can also review that, what the product owner wanted. And it seems like it's pretty much some standard installation. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to convert RayEval to MSIX, but unlike what Microsoft was doing and doing repackaging and so, I'll just get the MSI and convert it directly. So it won't pollute my system. And this approach works quite fine for, so to say, simpler packages which don't have custom actions and so. So let's just try to do it. I do have here somewhere sources for my RayEval 4.0. So we are still in the pack designer, so MSI Word. This is pretty much the old view you know from our products. I don't think there is any need to discuss that. You can still review which resources are there and so. The only thing I'm going to change before I start conversion would be again going to my document, because one point here was that we need to copy some additional file, just the license. It's the license which is not machine-based, so I can pretty much bring that into the package. There are some other approaches I could use here, but let's just first skip to something simple. Just bring the file into my Windows installer project. So that's also not a rocket science here. I'm going to import a file. That would be the license file. So it's just now shown on the right side. And as a matter of fact, I could now create a transform from that, and that will be my customization of the product. But we are still, so to say, in this legacy MSI world. Now, let's move forward and bring this into the MSIX container. So I'm not going to really save the MSI. Instead, when we go to File, Build menu, there is some new entry called MSIX package. So you'll find this in 6.0 release. And it's pretty much zero touch. So once I press that, and let's bring this to another folder. There is some different version. We'll save this under 4.0. So let's just save. And the package is now being built, so pretty much converted from the MSI to the MSIX container. The machine stays still clean, there is no pollution, there is actually no installation, just static conversion. One point before you start the conversion, I already said was the signature, so I have already pre-configured that with my self-signed certificate, and we are trying to incorporate this MSIX feature into RayPack and having them integrated with some previous functions. And so once you had experience with RayPack, you will find that like your signatures defined in profile are just simply working, and we are trying to reuse as much as possible. So the conversion is pretty much done. And let's have a look. We are in, I believe, okay, I think I did it in sources, or, yeah. So there is a RayEval 4.0 MSIX. As you can see, there is no nice Windows, nice MSIX icon here. And with double click, I should be able to start app installer, but it seems that this build inside there is pretty broken, so I cannot do it with UI. So this is actually a great chance to show how to install packages using PowerShell, and I guess that's the right moment to do that. So let's first try and make it running. Someone can tell me which command should I use, or? Add APPX package. So if you had experience with AppV, it's pretty similar. Add AppV client package, add AppX package, and then just, I think it's maybe too small, or let's make it a bit bigger. Where do I find it? Font. Let's make it like that. Better, or still too small? So now that should be better. AppX package, and then I'll just drag and drop my RayEval 4.0 and run it. So there is a progress bar. It replaces actually the progress bar you would see in the app installer, and the installation has been actually done. I can confirm that by going to get AppX package, and then let's try out all the eval packages. So I can pretty much see that. Now, what I can also see is that RayEval has popped in here. So well, the default converter just simply puts major and minor version to my name. I could still fix that, but it's not a really big deal. Let's just start RayEval and see how fine it's working. So this looks quite like a normal app, so there is not really much big difference. I've just started something, it seems to be just running. There are, however, some important differences. Look what I do here. If I right-click on my RayPack, which is true Win32 app installed from MSI, and I can right-click and properties to RayPack, there is something I can see it runs really in program files. So yeah, that's just classic app. Now, what about RayEval? If I right-click, as you can see, there is no properties. So everything that runs from container doesn't have properties. Weird choice, because you still can find out where the program is installed, but it's just to confirm that we are really running from the AppX container. And also, in my RayEval, if I press File, Open, and go to Program Files, RayEval, as you can see, I'm just able to get into C Program Files RayEval, but if I do that outside of my RayEval, so by just going to here, C Program Files, and there is just RayPack. So it's that virtualization. It's running from somewhere, we don't have to know exactly from where, and the virtual package just simply sees the whole VFS inside. Right, so, well, the package is working. Are we done with our session? Let's have a look, because what I didn't do, in that document, there is one missing page, if I scroll down, which says test instructions. So how do we test RayEval? It says, start it, go to setting, check something, change something, and save the settings. So let's have a look what happens. Going to RayEval, configuration, changing something, saving. That's a big error. The error is pretty much self-explaining. It just says I have no access to that file, which is understandable because if you recall what Microsoft said, or also what I mentioned shortly, was that you are not able to actually save anything in your program files location. Even if you're admin, I could start this as admin, I will just simply not be able to do that. So that seems like potentially a blocker. So we can't really move forward. The RayEval had some bug which saved something in program files. It shouldn't, obviously. And now there's the question, how do we fix that? The solution for the legacy, it could be setup.exe or also, well, Windows installer, would be to use shims. There was like, SDB file, you just add it, it's somewhere global on the system, looking for a particular path, and then you're like redirecting to some other location. The good thing about MSIX is that it's like now package specific. So I'm now going to add a PSF, so Package Support Framework, to my program, which will fix that issue. Now, how do we do that? Let's first, well, we can close RayEval, we can go to RayPack. And for that to work, we will now open our MSIX project. So let me find it again. I guess it was in here, 4.0 was it, yes? No, I don't want to save them. And we are there. Just a short confirmation, we can go to Files and Folders and to Program Files, RayEval. And here is the additional file that I added, so it's really in the container. And this view is completely new. You will not find this in RayPack 6.0, so it has a bunch of options for the MSIX editing, including the modification packages, including the PSF, including some COM, firewall, context menus, and much, much more. The actually interesting part for us would be, if we go to Applications, we need to fix our RayEval. And that's the right tab to do that, called Package Support Framework. So Microsoft did not actually show that. I don't know if you were on some previous session or saw that in action. I'm just going to really quickly just demo how to make it in RayPack Studio. But the background, what's happening is pretty much similar to other tools, to Microsoft Toolkit. It's going to be fully compatible. So here is the place where community can jump in. These are so-called fix-ups, or they used to be called shims. Right now we have 3 of them in 2 different architectures. We need to right now match the right architecture. We are going to still fix that before the release. It's going to be a more like automated way to do that. But for the time being, we just want to redirect that file. We take 32-bit because the main application is also 32-bit. And what we configure is we just need to tell our PSF plugin for file redirection which file actually should be redirected. So I guess it was this program files, RayEval plugins, and then something with XML extension. So how do we do that? If you have ever had experience with PSF, there are always 3 options, and I'm going to use the last one. So I will just tell RayEval PSF to, well, get my program files folder, then get a subfolder with some particular name from that one, and redirect files in that folder to some other location. This is pretty much easy. I mean, easier than it takes to describe. So again, program files, let's take RayEval / I guess it was plugins, and redirect the XML files. Here is one important thing. You may ask why here there's just one backslash, and here I just put \dot. So the first field is just normal text, so folder path can be written the way you like. Now the second one is regular expression. This is a bit complex here. You just need to know that some letters, some characters might have some special meaning, and especially dot is tricky, so you always have to prepend with backslash to tell, hey, I mean dot and not any character according to regexp. So yeah, just pay attention to that. You need to be aware of it. But otherwise, it seems pretty good. RayEval plugins, XML, program files. Yeah, let's try to save it, and we are going to build the product right now. So let's make another package by just going to the folder and okay, I'm just appending PSF to that. So this is going to rebuild my package, and that additional stuff that we just added would be there. So when it's done, I'll just give it a few seconds. We can go to that folder and already create a command, add APPX package. The new file path would be, is it now ready? Yeah. So it will be this 40 PSF. Okay, I didn't change the version, so let me first uninstall previous RayEval. I'm just going to use remove APPX package. So, oops, not remote, remove APPX package. So just quickly remove my RayEval. Uninstallation was pretty super fast, and now machine is 100% clean. And then let's install again, but this time was it with PSF MSIX. I think I wrote it right. So let's try. Again, installation is in progress. And if I didn't make anything wrong with paths, if I start RayEval right now, it's going to show. And if we now try to retest by going to, again, settings, to, was it templates? No, interface, somewhere here. Okay, so let's just change anything and save. So as you can see, no error right now. As a matter of fact, we still have some time, so I'm going to show you something interesting. We were talking about program files, RayEval, config, or some path like that. So if we really go to that, program files, RayEval, plugins, was it? And then let's show all files. I'm started from the container. There is some XML file, but also if you go to the app data, just one folder app to local location, there's a special folder called VFS. And if you go to that folder, you see something which is really striking similar to our path. It's C, program files, RayEval, plugins, plugin templates. That's exactly the path that has been just redirected for us. And you may also guess that these all files are lying directly in VFS under local. There is right now no way to define that you want some different locations. It just, in that virtual bubble, MSIX is tracking them until this location. So just interesting to, again, understand where is it all going to. So what else can we do with our RayEval? We can try to create a modification package for that. So I'm just going to, again, do it really quickly. Let's go to RayPack. And again, that's going to be quite new stuff. If you go to the empty project, one of the selection is now the MSIX. So previously, we just had one option for the MSI projects. Let's create some new project. And I'm going to just remove the app because modification package doesn't need any entry point. And in dependencies, I'm just going to select my RayEval PSF as my main dependency, so it's going to just load the data. And just a requirement of the platform is to define that we are able to run this on Windows desktop. Well, I actually defined April update. It doesn't matter that much. It will still work as a modification package. Obviously, when 1809 is there, you should change that back to 1809. So that's just enough actually to create a modification package. You just need maybe some additional content. So let's try to add in program files, RayEval, in RayEval, some plugins. And here we're going to just import. I also have a bunch of sources here, just one DLL. So that's just enough, just a bunch of files, definition of dependencies, what is the main package we are trying to modify, and let it run on Windows desktop. So when we build this one to MSIX format, I'm going to build it back maybe to the original path, so I think it was here, and let's name it not MPSF, but MP, so modification package. Oh, we could also change the properties. So if you go to the properties, it's project 1.10 unknown. Well, obviously, it would be better to make it like RayEval plugin 1 version, publisher Raynet, but it doesn't matter. Actually, it's maybe even better. I can show later on how this looks in program files. So let's try to install my modification package. It was even faster. The package is really small. And if you actually get now, again, using PowerShell, my RayEval package, you will see two things. That here in the dependencies, there is this project 1.100. So it knows that it was a modification package for that one. And if you go now to programs in settings, where is it? Apps. So if you search that list for RayEval and go to advanced options, you will see that my modification package project 1 from unknown publisher is there. So it clearly worked this way. Now the good thing is that I can now install the newer version of RayEval. So let's do it again. Install the 5.2 release, which I did before the demo. We can start it. And from now on, okay, just give it a second. From now on, if we go to the shortcut and start it, see that my Windows is not handling clicks. Okay, in any case, this should be now 5.2. We can actually have a look what is getting here. Refresh that list. And let's have a look, advanced options. That's clearly 5.2. So it has been upgraded, and it has to also retain its modifications. So if we scroll down, it's there, completely independent of the main package. Right. I guess we are good on time. So this was the live part showing how to work with PSF, how to work with modification packages, how to actually use RayPack to create projects using the new platform, and that it actually works even for simple conversion with the built-in container. Some more options would be to use conversion. Again, I'm not going to cover them. They were already covered by Microsoft, but you can start our Packbot to do bulk repackaging of all apps you have in one folder and get them converted to the MSIX format, or just do it interactively for every single package. Both are pretty much possible. So yeah, that was just a really, really quick way how to get through that topic. So let's make a quick summary of what I was discussing. At the beginning, we've been talking about what MSIX really is and how to actually, so to say, fight with the issues you may encounter during your adventure with that new format. Important is that that's really something big, the biggest driving change from Microsoft in last years. So knowing that they are really consequent, you may pretty much expect that in a few years that's going to be even more relevant, even more important. That's really time to brace ourselves to catch up with tools, the whole tooling from ESVs, also from Microsoft, to get it connected in the deployment system and so on, the SAM asset methods. In any case, that's certainly going to be, or already marketed as, the installation method of the future. Actually, it brings already several improvements. You've just seen a couple of them, including the really clean install, uninstall, including predictability of maintenance of the installation itself, the isolation of apps, the ability to install them even without admin rights, so anyone can do that without really breaking the system, without introducing some conflicts and so on and so on. And finally, the MSIX brings several additional features over its predecessor. That's modification package to deliver like plugins, custom config and so, and that's package support framework for, so to say, shimming, which belongs to the package. The tooling, ESVs are catching up, so Raynet is committed to deliver the update to actually support that, what you have already seen live and running. We still need a few days, weeks to make it fully available to the public, but you may just expect some rather immediate release from us. And that build will contain the MSIX editor, the conversion, the package support framework, the modification packages, and some more. We are not really focusing just on the modern world. I mean, old technology is still there, the MSI AppV, so we are not forgetting that. There will be some more features and upgrades to that, but MSIX will certainly be an important update to our product family. So are there any questions? Yeah, so, well, actually I didn't show the repackaging, but we are talking about the same base. So you can use all the formats from the pack designer, from the RCP. So if you do repackaging or have it repackaged by Packbot, you can just straightly go to the MSIX. In normal cases, it's actually even better than what I did, because RCP is really plain. I mean, it's just a bunch of files, registries, and that's it. The MSI still has some extra logic, so we try to, fix that during conversion, but going from RCP to MSIX would be even easier.
Yes, if you have custom actions.
Yeah, custom actions will definitely not be executed. So it was just meant to be a static, quick conversion for simple products. For more complex, you still go for repackaging. Using PSF or? Sorry? Using PSF, a package support framework. This shimming, yeah? No, at this point it's not. So it's always writing into VFS. in local. So it's not going to be roamed. But there were some feature suggestions to Microsoft team, and there is a chance that they are going to improve that. To just simply define where the redirection has to be redirected to. We just need to, well, wait for some announcements from Microsoft. They are really actively working on that. Right, if you have more questions, just come and visit us in our booth. We'll be happy to answer them. Just a few final words. Don't forget to rate this session. You will find the URL to do that at ManageEvent.com/evaluation. Make sure to pay us a visit in our booth. Listen to our social media and Raynet to get some more updates and insights to upcoming products, including MSIX support. And last but not least, well, may you enjoy the rest of AppManagEvent. And yeah, once more, thanks for coming. That will be from my side.